Today we are comparing the Gibson Les Paul Modern Figured to the LTD EC-1000T and CTM series. And now, how did I really end up with these two guitars? Well, it starts about 3 years ago when I got back into guitar playing after 17 years. So coming back, I'm like a geriatric millennial, so I'm like, well, I want to be hip, I want to be with it, I need a more modern guitar, I need a modern sounding guitar, I need all that. So initially I actually did get a Gibson Les Paul Studio after owning a couple Epiphones, but it just didn't really click with me. And then I went through a bunch of Fender guitars, and then I finally just realized I really do just like the Les Paul style of guitar. So it actually brought me over to this guy here, the LTD EC-1000T CTM see-through cherry, because it had all the modern appointments that you're looking for in a modern guitar. And when I was initially comparing things to Gibsons, well, obviously the price tag jumped out at me, and I didn't really see the modern and Supremes there, so I went ahead and picked that guy up. And then a little bit later on, though, I picked up Epiphone Prophecy, and I was really impressed with that, and I'm like, maybe I should go back and revisit the Gibson lineup and see if there's anything there for me. And really just came down to the Gibson Les Paul Modern guitars and the Supreme guitars. And when I really just started looking down at the specs of the Modern, I realized that the LTD guitar already had most of the specs. And I'm like, well, what's the point in that then? So what is an EC-1000T? Well, it just basically means it's traditional. It basically has a full body, has binding. If you get an EC-1000T CTM, it just kind of means custom, so you're kind of getting more of the custom appointments, more towards like a Les Paul custom, so binding, front and back, stuff like that. So now when you look at these guitars, they have a lot of things in common. They both have locking tuners. They both have Ebony fretboards. They both have dual humbuckers. They both have chambered bodies for weight relief. They both have slim tapered neck profiles. But they do have some differences. Over here on the LTD, they have stainless steel frets and a poly finish. And they're going to be using active pickups in here by default, not passive. Now over here on the Gibson, you're going to have your nickel silver frets, and you're going to have a nitro finish. However, one of the biggest differences you can easily see is, for example, on this Gibson, it has a set neck construction, where the neck is just kind of glued onto the body. And now the LTD has a set through neck, where kind of the neck runs through the body. And one of the main differences that you can see in real time is just going to be for fret access. If you look here, if I just kind of slide my hand down, look where that kind of ends up, just natural. As you can see, my hand is down there. I have access to all the frets, real simple. Now over on the Gibson, if I slide down, look where it kind of naturally sits. It doesn't quite go all the way down there. I kind of have to contort the hand, bend it a little bit. Not as nice as the LTD, not gonna lie. I think that's a big win for it. And another difference to note, because you can kind of feel it, the Gibson has a compound fretboard radius of 12 to 16 inches, where the LTD has kind of a middle ground at 13.7 inches. And for some of you who don't really know what that is, it just means that normally the flatter the fretboard, the easier it is to kind of noodle and do some like shreddy licks and stuff like that. And when I got back into guitar playing, like I said initially, is I wanted to get into that like modern sound. I didn't want to be like a boomer who's stuck on the blues. But if I'm going to be true to myself, I'm really making music that's 90s and 2000s punk and alt rock inspired. So having, super tight and super clean and sterile, humbuckers isn't really the best for me. So initially in the LTD, they actually had open core classics in it, a more PAF vintage sound. But again, not really sure what I was chasing. I said, wow, there's gold-plated Fishman Fluence modern pickups I can put in this LTD to make it look like a poor man's Les Paul Supreme. Let's do it. But to me, it doesn't really give me that feel. It just is a little too sterile for me. So personally, I'm probably going to look at replacing the pickups in these. The guitar itself is fantastic, but I can't knock it because I decided to put something in it that wasn't that great. That's why I'm not really comparing tone here. Because the Burstbucker Pro Pluses in here gives me a hotter sound that isn't quite vintage and can definitely, handle all the gain and all the distortion I throw at it. So for the music I play, these are perfect. So now you're asking yourself like, well man, if that LTD is just so good though, why is it so cheap? Because realistically, the LTD guitars, they sell anywhere retail from about $13.99 to $15.99. And these moderns over here, they sell for, $3,000. Used, you can get the LTDs for about $800 to $1,000. Where used here, you're looking at, anywhere from $1,800 plus. So then you're probably asking yourself though, man, you get a lot of guitar in the LTD, how is it so cheap? Well, it is an import, it is mass produced, they're probably making it on machines, has a poly finish on it. Now over here on the Gibson, however, you're gonna have that Nitro finish on it that takes a long process to get applied, and then it's like a handcrafted guitar. So there's a lot more time that goes into this than the LTD. So, you kind of have that, premium edge over here, knowing you're going to get that handcrafted instrument. And I know one of the arguments is like, well, the LTDs can't compete. The quality just isn't there like the Gibsons. I don't buy into that, especially for like the Korean-made LTDs, because the LTDs are primarily made in Korea and Indonesia. Especially with the Korean guitars, they have great factories over there. They got that legendary Court factory that's producing like every guitar under the sun that everyone rants and raves about nowadays for quality. So you can't really sleep on this. Where I guarantee you're going to find lemon Gibsons as well. So just in this day and age, like even the cheapest guitars are really well made. You can ask anyone, well, 30 years ago when I had a guitar, like I couldn't even imagine the quality I'm getting for like $200. So just saying, it's less of an argument nowadays, but the Gibsons probably do have a little more TLC when they're being created. So if you are on a budget though, you get a lot of guitar for that, especially if you went like used. Like there's undeniable. If someone said, hey, what guitar should I get? I like Les Pauls, don't want to pay a Gibson price. I would seriously say you should look at these LTDs over here, and I'm not going to go into the whole thing of like, well, you can get used Gibson Les Paul Studios for like $800-900, but you're kind of missing out on a vibe. You don't get the binding, you're not going to get all the awesome appointments, and then up to recently, I don't think they even had like locking tuners on them, so I mean, and now there's also kind of a stigma around the LTD guitars, like they're all metal guitars, but clearly with the EC-1000T and the T CTM guitars, they tried to open up a little bit more. They put in those open core classics, kind of for more of that vintage sound. Now I've been saying a lot of good things about the LTD guitars, and it's true. There's a lot of great things on it, a lot of great features. But there's just something about the Gibsons you really can't explain until you played them. And not playing them for 5-10 minutes in a showroom, sitting down, playing with them for days. There's just a premium feel about these. Just with the Nitro, and that's probably a big part of it. When it starts warming up right, and it just starts gelling to your hand, just that sweet smell that comes off of it, it's just a different experience altogether. And it might be a little psychological. You're perceived of playing, a more expensive instrument that has more heritage, it has more legacy. Rock gods have played this for, many generations. But again, you can't deny that there is something there. So if you're like me who likes to buy and sell guitars a lot, I do have to think about the future and go, well, if I want to get something different in the future, what could I resell this guitar for? So that is actually a big determination as well. So as much as I would love to say, man, I'm just going to swap over and play nothing but LTDs, I'm never going to get a Gibson, there's a lot of other factors that go into it too. And like I said, it's kind of just an unspoken thing. You really have to get one in your hand and play it. I think they both play exceptionally well. And the best part is, I don't have to choose. I have both of them. So if you don't have that luxury like me, and a budget is a constraint, yeah, I would definitely say go after the LTD for sure. But if you might be able to spend a little bit more, this might be something definitely you're interested in. So just kind of wrap things up here, both these guitars are fantastic. And it really comes down to what your goals are as a player. Now, in a perfect world, you don't care about headstocks. I would say the LTD, at least paper-wise, seems like a winner. But if you start really getting onto the nuances and the player experience and just the overall vibe, the Gibson's right up there. There's a reason why it's like the standard. It's what everyone wants to play because it's been tested throughout time and people just can't get enough of these. The Gibson is roughly $1,000 more, new or used. For me, having the branding, the resale value, and just the overall playing experience, it's worth it to me. Now, if I was more focused on, modern metal and shredding, the LTD could easily be a better choice. So it's not necessarily about finding the best guitar spec-wise. It's about finding a guitar that works for you and works for the style of music that you're trying to play. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. and tell me which guitar you like better. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Check out all my random social links down in the bottom, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.